Good evening, everybody. Welcome to your Thursday evening Facebook Live. My name is Sarah Edwards. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I come to you guys live every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 to show you a fun new project. So I don't know how well your guys' day went, but mine did not go as planned. I was prepared to get so much stuff done today, and I really didn't get anything done. And I was super busy all day, and I don't feel like I got anything accomplished. Does that ever happen to you guys? It's crazy how you have plans to just crank things out, and none of it happens. But I did get a super cute Facebook Live card for you. I honestly don't know the technical name or term for it, so I called it a window card. It could be like a picture frame card. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but I think it turned out super cute. And I made quite a few of them. So the first two I made, I used the Silly Goose stamp set. And then I was like, I don't know if I want to use the Silly Goose. So then I went to the gnomes that are in the mini catalog. And I was like, okay, that is super cute. And then I decided to do the turtles from the rain set. I literally forgot the name of it. So I actually probably made 5 or 6 of the same style cards because they were super fun. So hopefully you guys enjoyed them. Enjoy it as much as I did making them. Good evening, Heather. Welcome. If you're just logging on, say hi so I know you're here. We are only going to be making one card today, just because I didn't want to overwhelm you. So if you like the style, you can go back and rewatch the video. But I did put the dimensions in before I went live. So hopefully everything goes without any glitches. But it is Facebook Live and I am human. So who knows? I could make mistakes. Good evening, Mary. Welcome. Okay, I'm going to point you over and see if we are live on my Facebook. So let me just refresh it, and there it is. Make sure my volume is turned down. Okay, so let's start with the Designer Series paper. So I have the 2022 to the 2024 in color Designer Series paper pack. I don't have much left of this. I really wanted to make one of these cards in, shoot. Well, I did make it, but I wanted to use this paper, but, Sweet sorbet. Whew, I don't know why I couldn't think of that. But that's all the little pieces I have left of the sweet sorbet, and it wasn't enough to make a card. So I used some different Designer Series paper, still sweet sorbet, but I did make the little turtle out of this parakeet party. But you have the Orchard Oasis, you have the Starry Sky. So it's actually a pack that has all of our colors that match the 2022-2024 in colors. So that's what I decided to pull in. So there's that. I usually, and I'm really, really sorry that I did this, but once you see the cards, you'll kind of understand what I'm talking about. I pulled in the Friendly Gnomes. I am doing more of a masculine card, so I'm going to use more of this gnome because I kind of thought he was a little bit more boyish, even though he has some flowers in his beard. And then I'm using the balloons, so I just set those on the outside so I knew which ones I was going to use. But I did make one in a feminine color, and I used this little girl. So I will tell you with her, takes a little bit more time to color. She has more little tiny bits and pieces to her, but I honestly think all of us girls have more tiny little bits and pieces to us. So she definitely is a little bit more tedious and time consuming to color. And then I wanted just a happy birthday that went horizontal just to go along the bottom. So the first card I'll show you, I stamped the inside, not the outside. But I really liked this for the bottom of the card that we picked, or that we're going to be doing. And I know I usually don't put 3 different stamp sets into one card, and I totally apologize. But I felt the card needed a little bit of splatter. So if you have splatter from a different set, that's totally okay. But I am focusing on this class for a class to go for next month. I've already gotten them designed, but I really liked this splatter. So those are the sets we're going to be using. Let me put those back over so I don't lose them. And then these guys are definitely a staple in your craft room. I had these, and for some reason they have vanished or Maybe during a retreat or something, somebody grabbed them and put them in their pile instead of back in mine. But whatever the case is, they've been on back order for a really long time. They are on low inventory right now, but you can still get them. So you get the squares and the circles and these little guys for your sentiments. And I actually used the largest square on one of them, but the rest of them I used the second to the largest circle. And we are going to be using that, so I'm going to pull that one out. And now I think I can show you guys the cards. So let me kind of put them in order. So this was my very first attempt to this card. So here's the first one. Actually, I'm going to set all of them to the side and bring this one in. So I'm not entirely sure what the name of this is. So it could be a picture frame card. It could be a window card. I just went ahead and put window card on it. But this moves up and down. And then you're going to slide this off. And then we're going to open it. I did forget to put the basic white piece on the inside of this one, but the other ones do have it. So you can kind of see why I said I wanted a little bit of splatter around the card, just because it was a little white. Obviously, it is basic white, but it was just a little too white. It needed a little something. But then I wasn't 100% sure about the designer series paper, so let's go to card number 2. Good evening, Jill. So here's card number 2, where I did the same exact thing, but I actually embossed the designer series paper and I used the circle instead of the square. So we're going to pull this off. And then, oh, I forgot the white on the inside of this one too. I do know some of them do have the white on the inside. So there was my second attempt at this card. And sometimes you might have to kind of squeeze the card to go in because it is definitely a tight squeeze. So there's my second attempt. So here's my third attempt. And I really, really like it. I think it turned out so cute. I used a smaller circle and I did the images on the inside. I added a bow and I put some little gems across the bottom. And I put these little leaf things here at the bottom, but I'll show you what I did on the next card. And I used the different designer series paper on the back. So let's pull this open. And see, I told you there was some white. I knew I put white on some of them. So I stamped my sentiment on the inside. So there's that. Here's a masculine one. It's one of my son-in-law's birthdays next month. So I wanted to make a masculine card. So even though it has a bow, it has a little kind of little gems on the bottom, I still think it's super masculine. Okay, so here is my feminine one. I think she is so stinking cute. And I put the happy birthday at the bottom instead of on the inside. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to slide this off and then open it up and you have lots of room for your sentiments. So aren't they super cute? And it just slides right back in. And I did put 3 gems here at the bottom and I put a couple on the inside as well. Even though they're a little bit harder to see because it kind of looks like a little splatter. But I thought they were super cute. And then, I know, right? This is crazy. I couldn't stop. I honestly could not stop making them. So then I decided to bring in this little turtle guy because I wanted to use the parakeet party. And it is so stinking cute. So this one is actually pretty tight. And I'm not entirely sure why because I did all of them the same way. But I did the little raindrops that were in the stamp sets. And there's white on that one as well. I knew I did white on some of them. But I just love how our designer series paper, our ink, our blends, our gems, everything literally matches perfectly where you don't really have to do a lot of thinking. You just have to put the colors together. Thank you, Jill. Good evening, Anna. Thank you for all the hearts. Okay, so we are going to make this little fella. I am going to change it up a little bit and put the sentiment at the bottom. But you're probably thinking this looks way too hard, and I promise you it's not. So I did put the dimensions in before I went live, but I will go over all of them as well. So our normal card base is usually 4 1/4 inches, but this one is actually 4 inches by 11. And we're going to score it the same way at 5 1/2. So I'm going to go ahead and take that off. Fold that in half and give that a good crease. And I am going to grab a piece this is our basic white. It's 3 3/4 inches by 5 1/4. This piece is going to go on the inside. So we are going to actually do that right away because I'm sure you guys are all saying this in your head. You always forget to do that. And I do. So this is going to go right on the inside. So that is done. Now we can just worry about the outside. So I have 3 more pieces of designer series paper, basic white, and cardstock. So the cardstock we're going to be using is 3 1/2 by 8 1/2, and I scored it twice. I scored it at 4 1/8 of an inch and 8 1/4. So I already went and scored those for you. So this we're going to set aside, and I'm just going to show you these 2 pieces. Our designer series paper is 5 1/4 by 3 3/4. And our basic white, this is just going to lay on top. It's 4 3/4 by 3 1/4. Lots of measurements. I'm so sorry. God forbid it be easy, right? Okay, so let's start with this piece that is 3 1/2 by 8 1/2. I scored it at 4 1/4, or I'm sorry, 4 1/8 and 8 1/4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and fold on these 2 little score marks. And I want to bring in my embossing machine. I'll probably just put half of it in just because he's so big. And I'm going to put in my plates. And I'm going to make sure that the piece that has the little bit less than 1/4 of an inch score mark is hanging off the edge. I kind of want that to be my back side of it. And I want to do my cutting on this first piece. So I'm just going to eyeball it. It doesn't have to be anything specific. You're just going to try to get it into the center, same distance from the score mark and up top. So there's that. So I'm going to put the top cover on, run this through. Run it one more time back just to make sure it cuts. I don't want the machine to go very far because we're going to use it one more time. So out pops your circle. So now what I want to do is I want to fold this down, and I just want to take a little smidgen of Tombow, and you'll probably see I'm literally putting the smallest amount on there. I'm going to just hold that down with my fingernail, and I want to close this. And we can give that a good crease. Okay, so now here is our little mechanism. Now, I wanted to make things a little bit more complicating, so I decided to grab an embossing folder, and I'm going to put face side down on this little line, just so I know it's going to be even. And we are going to run this through again. So there's a few bits of moving parts to this card. But as you can see, I couldn't stop making them today. That's probably why I didn't get anything accomplished, because I couldn't stop making these cards. Okay. So now we have our embossed piece. So when you emboss, it takes the cardstock and puts the design on your paper, takes the design and puts it on your cardstock. So sometimes what it does, it kind of shrinks it a little bit because it has to kind of pull the cardstock together to get that design. So what I did is I just came in and gently kind of opened this up a little bit, just so it was a little bit easier to put together. So that's what I came up with. So now we can go ahead and adhere our basic white to our designer series paper. And I know you guys are probably going to fall out of your chair when I tell you this, but we have to stamp after we glue everything together. I know it's a little bit disturbing, but I didn't know any other way to get this card to work right if we didn't glue everything together. So if you mess up, it's just paper. It's totally okay. So there's that. So what I want to do is grab my happy birthday, and I want to go ahead and do it in Starry Sky. So I'm going to ink this up. I am going to flip it over just to make sure I don't have any ink that is on the edge where I could get a halo. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to line this up to the bottom and stamp. There we go. That looks pretty even. I'm just going to clean that off so I don't forget later. I think that's all I'm going to use the Starry Sky for. So now what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and put this in. And you might need to bend your card a smidgen, but it does go in. See how cute that is? So now I just want to kind of line this up where I have the same amount at the bottom and at the top. There we go. And now here's where the magic comes in. Good evening, Lisa. Sorry, I just looked over and saw you say hi. So I want to put my little gnome in the circle. And I want to put my balloon right beside it. So I can now scoot my gnome over a smidgen. My balloon is positioned where I want it. That looks pretty good. So now I'm going to take my block, pick both of them up together, and now it is exactly where I want it to go. So I'm going to grab my mementos. Can you see why we're only going to put one of these cards together tonight? So I'm going to come in and I'm going to stamp through my circle. There we go. Super cute, right? Okay, so you can definitely take this piece off if you want to color him. But before I start coloring him, I want to add a little bit of splatter. Now, because I am using Balmy Blue, I'm using a lighter color blue. You probably don't have to cover the edges of the Starry Sky. If you're using a lighter color paper, I would definitely recommend covering it so you don't get the splatter on your sides. Does that make sense? And I actually am going to just cover up my happy birthday just so I can put a tiny bit of splatter right here. There we go. So I just thought it needed a little tiny something for splatter. So that's why I decided to do it. So I'm going to quickly color this guy. Light petal pink is my favorite for a skin tone. I have not found another one that I like best. So the light petal pink. So I'm going to color his little hands and his nose. I'm going to bring in my dark Balmy Blue. And I'm going to do the flowers, just the petals. He actually does go together pretty quickly. And that's why I decided to make the little girl gnome ahead of time, because she had lots more bits and pieces that needed to be colored separately. Okay, so there is that. And while I have the dark out, I'm going to come in and do his pants and his sleeve. I want those in the dark Balmy Blue. I am going to pull in the dark Balmy Blue one more time just to do some accent coloring. But for now, I'll just color this. There we go. I'm going to grab the light Balmy Blue and I'm going to do the balloon. And you don't have to worry about the blends bleeding through, because you not only have your, usually it does bleed through if you're just doing the basic white. But because you have the basic white, you have the designer series paper underneath it and a piece of cardstock, you're not going to have to worry about it bleeding through. So you can definitely color this together. So color around his nose. I'm going to quickly color his hat. And I like to move my paper when I color instead of trying to move my arm. So there's that. See, he's actually almost done. And I brought in the light gray granites. I love our light basic gray, but sometimes I think it might be a tad bit too dark. So I love the gray granite for this. So I'm going to come in with the gray granite. And he's kind of almost done. So I'm going to bring in the dark gray granite. Yep, this is the dark. And I'm just going to accent some of his little pieces. I really think this makes the card pop so much nicer. So I'm going to come in and do dark balmy blue. I'm going to accent some of these little pieces. And come over here and do his little hat. I don't know what it is about it, but it literally makes the biggest difference. And I want to bring in one more time the light gray granite, because I'm just going to come in and do a little bit of his beard. So it kind of looks like he's got a little bit of gray hair. Kind of like all of us on the Facebook Live. But I color my hair, so you can't really see that I have lots of gray hair. But it's all from my children and husband. That's who's given it all to me. My children and my husband. Okay, so he is all colored and ready to go. Oh, you know what I did forget? Oh, I didn't bring them in here. I did do orange in the center of the flowers, but I'll have to do that later. I must have forgot it on my table. So let's slide this back in. Look how stinking adorable it is. So I brought in these flat adhesive backed pearls. I actually kind of thought they looked like little rocks. And gnomes go in your front porch and usually have little rocks at your front porch. So that is why I brought these in. Kind of get that centered and lined up. I'm going to put 3. There we go. And I went ahead and already tied my bow. And this, I'm using the balmy blue ribbon. And I believe this is in the mini catalog as well. But it worked perfect because I had so much balmy blue in my card. So I wanted to pull in this one. So I'm going to put a mini glue dot on the back. And there we go. So that is how cute. And I don't think it's super easy. I would not say this is a super easy card, but it's definitely not a difficult card. It's just a lot of different little steps that you have to do to create it. So let me get all of this out of the way and let me bring them in. So here are the 2 masculines. I actually like the birthday at the bottom, but I don't mind the little leaves at the bottom either. So either way you do it is totally perfect. But I love the little turtle. He is so cute. I don't know if there's a parakeet party looking colored turtle, but there is tonight. And then we have the little girl. So you have masculines and feminine all in one, all in one design. So hopefully you guys liked tonight's card. I think I might actually make some more of them because they are super cute and not too tragically hard to put together. So thank you for joining me, and I'm glad we only made one because that almost took 30 minutes to make the one. So I'm glad I chose only to do one for you. But if you want the specific instructions, again, I did put it in before we went live, and you can also rewatch the video and pause it and take notes as well. But if you need anything, feel free to reach out and I will get with you as soon as possible. I do work tomorrow, but I should be home all day on Saturday. Hopefully I get a little more accomplished than I did today. But anyway, if you need anything, let me know. If not, I will see everybody on Tuesday for another live. We'll chat with you soon. Bye-bye.